Hello, welcome to the 14th week. Wild, almost nothing of maintenance, just a little bit of water when needed. Garden here in Kentucky, just putting the seeds in the ground and seeing what grows. So I'll give you a quick update on what we got growing well and what isn't growing. Woohoo! Some butterfingers. And what isn't growing well. So check it out. On the first row, we've got some yellowing. They're growing, but not doing much here. We're starting to get the first flower on this plant. Lost most of these. There's one that's barely going right there. Lost a bunch of those. And we got these last two. These are the row that number 3 that were transplanted from row number 1. And you can see we're getting the cherries. Second plant, there's some pears. This plant not doing anything yet. Here we go. This one right here is a beefsteak. So we're starting to get some beefsteaks. There's the next one. Starting to get some tomatoes on this one. This one, I can't read the tag anymore, sorry. I'll have to look it up. This one right here, starting to get some tomatoes on this one. And there we go, Tiny Tim. Got our first tomato. But we can't eat it. You know why? Because I gotta save the seeds. That's a whole nother video. So I could grow more of those. So what do you think? Should I wait one more day, let them seeds produce? Or pick it now? Can't eat it, I need the seeds. Looks like we got a couple more. This looks like a cherry tomato plant. This plant right here, got some yellowing, no flowers. It's just kind of hanging on. And then this last one has a couple flowers and it's slowly going. So, tomatoes that were transplanted are doing well. The pepper row, very short, mostly lost peppers. I got one small one there, another small one there. Lost peppers, and then we got the rest of these. They're just really super tiny plants in row number 2. Not doing so well. These pepper plants were transplanted from row number 2 into this row number 4, and the transplants are doing pretty well. Nice green leaves. They're getting big. I've got or had flowers on them. Look at that. Looks like that might be turning into a pepper down there. This one's got a couple yellow. But these peppers that were transplanted from row 2 to 4 are doing pretty well. Here's my wild sunflowers. Just kind of threw them all in. And they just keep popping up. No sunflowers yet. As far as a low maintenance idea, probably not a low maintenance plant. So this is one, the deer ate the top off of these, but I left them and they're slowly got something. They're trying to live. And then the other thing I got with these sunflowers in here is something's coming along, and the deer ain't really coming around much, maybe because I moved the dog up on the compost bin. But now we got little leaf eaters in here. So I got some leaves that are starting to get munched on by the leaf eaters. So that's the wild sunflower patch. All right. Here's our future farm cats. They ate, so now they're all just sleeping. They're relaxed. They're fitting into their new place. They're using the litter box. They're playing. They're drinking the water. And we got 4 of them at the vet right now getting fixed. So these cats are too young to get fixed, but we're in the process of getting that taken care of. Hoping for some rain. The rain barrels are starting to empty out here. Anytime I get an empty container from somewhere, I go ahead, because these barrels fill up so quick that anytime I find an open container, I'm filling it up with water and keeping it on the side, saving that water. Wild zucchini, pumpkin, and squash patch. So I'm getting flowers out there, but the flowers are disappearing. More than likely, I'm thinking I see them deer going back and forth all the time. They're probably just eating them. So I have to come up with a new plan, but at least I know which varieties are going to do well if the deer don't eat them. Here's what's left growing of our zucchinis. I don't see that one. Might have lost that one. One's still growing there. Got some yellow leaves going. That one's got a little ladybug in there on the curled up leaf. That one's just hanging on. There's water. And this one's starting to grow better. We got some flowers on that zucchini. Over here at the pumpkins, we got some there. Little one there. Got one here, some yellow leaves. So everything is just kind of hidden in here. There's a pumpkin with some flower on it. I don't know if they're gonna take or not, but they're here. Here's another flower on a pumpkin. Don't see that one. I got a pumpkin growing here. And this one over here with the yellow leaves. We got another pumpkin growing here. Here we got squash flower. That one's just a little tiny one that popped up. We got another one here. And they're just barely here. Alright, here's a flower. Got a bunch of little ants on that one. Looks like we may have lost that one. And this one here, we got a little one that's popped up. Look at these deer. They knocked over my steak. Somebody did anyway. But there's a little one coming up there. A little one down in there. And that one's got a little flower on it in there. And then I got these that are all just kind of hanging on. Not doing a whole heck of a lot, but they're doing something. So that's the squash. And here's our bird food, pumpkins. So nobody's eaten that flower yet. And these keep flowering and the flowers go away or they're gone. So I don't think they're dying off. I think the deer are just eating them because I don't find them laying on the ground anywhere. So that's the wild bird seed pumpkin or pet bird food pumpkin. So out of all them rows, that's all that's left. And with that, keeping track of these tags so I know what is going to grow good and what is not going to grow good. So if it can handle this harsh environment, and they're going to keep trying to grow. And if I plant them out here, these varieties that are doing well, then I have a pretty good feeling that I am going to make them grow very well with some care. So I've got this random discovery here on the wild squash patch. And I don't know why I didn't notice this sooner, but I notice it now that things are dying off. So I thought it was different species of plants that weren't doing so well or different packages of seeds doing well. But I've discovered something when we cut this patch of briar thorn and everything else that was horrible. It was like 5 foot tall grasses that we cut down to make this field. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So out here I always show pictures of the wild squash patch. So if you notice here, these rows where the brush hog left seeds down, and you can see how in each one of these rows I've got things growing. So let me try and point this out here. So this is a row. You can see I got stuff growing there. This is a row. I got stuff growing there. Here's another row. I got stuff growing there and there. And then here's another row, and I got stuff growing in 3 spots. Here's another row. There's another row there. There's a bunch growing in that area. And then there's another row here. So I've got things growing pretty well under the brush from the brush hog, the tall grasses and hays and stuff. So my thought with what's going on back here, I just want to add another note. When I go back here, so where I have all these water jugs and all these plants are growing pretty good in that spot, it is very wet right there in that spot. So somehow the ground is holding water there. We do have springs out here. I'm wondering if that's where one of the springs are at, and that's why everything seems to be growing so good right in this area. So I'm going to try with my next experiment. I'm going to plant different vegetables out there. I'm not going to do the zucchini. Well, maybe I'll do some zucchini. We'll see. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. But instead of doing these rows this way, that didn't seem to do very well, I am going to grow stuff in these rows going east and west, because it seems like that's good, those two are good, that one's good, and that one's good. But everything where it seems to be taken pretty well is all in these east-west rows of straw and hay and weeds that are knocked down where the other grass isn't growing. So just an observation of what I may try and do out here is plant seeds in these east-west rows instead of going north-south. So just a random observation of what I'm going to try next. Found this on the edge of the woods. So I've got these wild raspberries that I found growing back in here. And as soon as I start to see a couple berries, they're gone. So apparently the animals love to eat the raspberries, but it's good to know we've got raspberries growing wild out here. So may have to take some care and look into that a little bit more on how to produce these more. All right, thank you for watching. Next week will be the 15th week Wild Kentucky Garden. Thanks for watching.